What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to jump into a topic that I've kind of been thinking about for the last couple of weeks regarding the New York Giants, regarding Daniel Jones, and how much will the New York Giants have to pay Daniel Jones. But even more importantly, talking about the next couple of years while Daniel Jones is still on his rookie contract and the importance that it means for the New York Giants to try to compete as quickly as possible. I think all New York Giants fans and all football fans realize that the biggest advantage a team can have, and it was written by, I saw an article written about this a couple of days ago by the New York Post by Dunleavy. I'm going to pull up some of the stats that are in that article talking about it. But I think we all realize that the biggest advantage that the New York Giants and the New York Jets, who are also mentioned in that article, have right now is they have a quarterback while he's still on his rookie contract. You know, you look at a guy like Daniel Jones. Right now, he's accounting for roughly 3% of the New York Giants' total cap, and Sam Darnold in his third year, Jones, of course, is in his second, accounts for about 4%. Well, when they hit the open market, all you have to do is look at guys like Carson Wentz, look at guys like Russell Wilson, now Dak Prescott, who's been franchise tagged, and that number spikes from 3 or 4%, and I guess 5 probably in the last year of their rookie deal, all the way up to 16 or 17%, and in some cases, from what people are projecting for Pat Mahomes, closer to 20%. And that's the thing that should really scare not just the New York Giants fans, but every fan around the league that has a quarterback that is due to hit that second contract sooner or later, and it will be a decision that all teams will have to make. Pat Mahomes is going to reshape the market for the quarterback position, and that will only pave the way forward for guys like Daniel Jones. And I consistently say all the time when people ask me, I think the quarterback position is undoubtedly the most important position on a football team, but I also think it is the most overpaid. It is very hard in this league, I don't care how talented you are, to win a Super Bowl when you pay 15, 16, 17% of your total cap to one player. And that includes Pat Mahomes. It will make it much more challenging for the Chiefs to do that when they give him the money. Now, of course, it's completely understandable to pay a guy like Pat Mahomes that amount of money, but sometimes teams overpay the position just because they're so desperate to have a guy that's an adequate signal caller behind center. You look at a guy like Ryan Tannehill this year. He got, I think, close to $30 million. You look at Joe Flacco after he won his Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens, which he won, and that's usually what happens when you win a Super Bowl, but the Ravens struggled mightily after the fact because of it. And knowing this, if you're the New York Giants and Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge, that this contract is coming up, well, I think the New York Giants need to realize two things when it comes to this topic. One, there is a limited window to give yourself the best opportunity to win the Super Bowl while your quarterback is still on his rookie deal. After this year, and this is a year that I think most people realize that the New York Giants, unless things break incredibly right, are still in rebuild mode and they're still setting their team up for the future to try to win a Super Bowl. So if they do not win a Super Bowl this year, the Giants will only have 3 years to try to win a Super Bowl while Daniel Jones is still on his rookie contract. And in a lot of cases, really only 2, because a lot of the quarterbacks that I have mentioned were extended after their 4th season. Guys like Jared Goff, guys like Carson Wentz. So knowing that Daniel Jones, which we all hope is our franchise quarterback, may only have 2 or 3 more years after this on a cost-effective deal where you could fill in this roster, it actually may be appropriate. As much as I express patience on my channel, I think the New York Giants have to find players, maybe not signing them to 5-year deals, but players that are high-impact players in areas of need in 2021 and 2022 in free agency to try to get the ball rolling. The reason I wouldn't look to sign for 5 is because you will have to extend Daniel Jones if he, in fact, is deemed to be your franchise quarterback. But the Giants need to make this roster as good as they possibly can, as fast as they possibly can, to try to win a Super Bowl while they have that advantage. The good news for the New York Giants, well, it's the NFL, and teams get better overnight within one offseason. You look at the Green Bay Packers last year, they spent a lot on free agency. Well, they had some cap space to fill in a lot of the holes on that defense. You look at the San Francisco 49ers. They went from a worst-place finish to a first-place finish. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo coming back certainly assisted them in doing that. But it is not out of the question for the New York Giants, if this young talent does progress this year, to really get going. But I think it's imperative by 2021 for the New York Giants to be competing to go to the Super Bowl, because if at least making the playoffs, because if they're not, well, then that window starts to close, and if it's hard now, it's going to be that much harder when Daniel Jones does hit that mega contract after his rookie deal. But I wanted to jump into some of the quotes from the New York Post article written by Dunleavy, really just to hit home with some of the points of just how important it is for the Giants to win as soon as possible. The first one I wanted to pull up for you guys was this, when talking about quarterbacks that have gone to the Super Bowl in recent years, and this talking about Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz. Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz all counted $8 million or less against the cap during their Super Bowl seasons, but each will count at least $31 million in 2021, which will be the same case for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones will only be higher if he is the franchise quarterback, but there you go. That's $23 million less that those teams had to spend on the rest of their roster. After signing big extensions before year 5 to be kept out of free agency, Pat Mahomes could become the NFL's first $40 million per year on his looming extension. So those quarterbacks actually only had a 4-year window before they did it, because the teams wanted to sew them up so they didn't hit the 5th year, and then they'd have to pay them even more so as the salary cap continues to go up, and they wanted to show the commitment to those quarterbacks. And here's the next stats I wanted to pull up for you guys. The 26 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks of the salary cap era since 1994, which is when it was instituted, have accounted for an average of 6.83% of their team space, according to overthecap.com. You look at a guy like Dak Prescott, 16%, which is what that $31 million number is. So Prescott, Wentz, Wilson, Goff, those guys now, account for 16%. And the stats show you that it's nearly impossible to win a Super Bowl, regardless of how good your quarterback is, when you're paying him that amount of money. The same can be said for Aaron Rodgers. And then it goes on to say that only all-time greats, Steve Young, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Tom Brady, accounted for more than 10%. We're not talking 16%, 10%. 18 quarterbacks count for more than 7% of $13.8 million of their team's cap space in 2020. Darnold only counts for 4.2%, and Jones counts for 3%. And it later went on to say in that article that Eli Manning, during his second Super Bowl, because during his first Super Bowl, he was still on his rookie deal, but during his second Super Bowl, well, it was still a lot. He only accounted for 11% of the team's cap, and a lot of the players on that team, I think it said that there were 8 impact players that were still on rookie contracts. And when you think about it, you had guys like Hakeem Nicks, you had the undrafted free agent Victor Cruz. So the Giants found ways to find players that aren't very easy to do in a year-in, year-out basis. So there you have it. And what do those numbers go to show you? Well, it means that the New York Giants better get cooking real soon, because the New York Giants right now have a golden opportunity to try and compete for a Super Bowl. The problem is the New York Giants were at a disadvantage. If you look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks, when Russell Wilson first came into the league on his rookie deal, they really had a 4 or 5 year window from the start to really compete and try to win, because they had a good surrounding team from the start to provide Russell Wilson with an opportunity to win. The New York Giants had a roster that they were starting to overhaul, which even more to me speaks to the fact that the New York Giants made the right decision in 2018 not to select a quarterback, because the roster was even worse then than it is now. So at least that gave them that 1 extra year to try to have a foundation starting to be established to give their future franchise quarterback the best opportunity to win on his rookie deal. Had they went out and selected a guy like Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen or Josh Allen, insert quarterback here, in 2018, well, you wouldn't have had Saquon Barkley. The offense wouldn't have been as established, and then it would have, you would have been behind the 8 ball, and you would have wasted another year more than likely on the rookie deal of the quarterback. I do think the New York Giants by 2021, Jones' 3rd season in the league, if all goes according to plan and this defense progresses and Jones gets better in year 2 and grasps the playbook, which would be the only reason that this would be a problem to begin with, because if he doesn't and he doesn't improve, well, Jones won't be here through his rookie deal. So Jones will definitely have to improve and get better, and he knows that, and I think he will. And if he does, and the younger players on this team do get better, I do think the New York Giants will be in a prime position to compete to at least win the NFC East in 2021 and 2022 and 2023. Well, Jones is still on his rookie deal. I think the Giants will have a 3-year window to compete for the playoffs in a year-in, year-out basis. I still think this year, well, it is possible. I think we need a lot of things to break right. We're still young and evolving and learning new systems. But when you couple the fact that the New York Giants should have some cap space next year with the maneuvering of contracts and knowing that Jones is on a short window, use that opportunity to try to bring in a couple of more impact players at areas of need, like the wide receiver, the edge rusher position, possibly a coverage linebacker, to sew up some of these things. And as these younger players evolve and continue to grow and get better and learn both these offensive and defensive systems to their, and reach their full potential, I do think the Giants will have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. But if they are unable to do so over the next 3 years of Daniel Jones's career, it is going to be very hard to compete and win a Super Bowl. That's not to say it can't be done. When you have an upper echelon quarterback, that's why you pay them. They're supposed to be able to make up that difference by that point in their career while they have matured. But the numbers go to show you that it's rare when a quarterback makes that much money in terms of percentage against his team's cap that they'll be able to compete and win a Super Bowl. But we'll have to wait and see what the New York Giants will like to do in 2021, so on and so forth. I am very encouraged with the players that they've brought in via the draft, but they still probably need another year to mature before we're starting to think about competing to win the Lombardi Trophy. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.